Okay, everybody.
Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to you. Again, in the Christmas holiday.
Merry doggone Christmas, guys! It's like it's Friday-ish coming up.
Oh
You know,
my
it's interesting. So I grew up with Christmas being something that we celebrate. Really the day before Christmas Eve, right? Christmas Eve is the time where we make the food and we do everything crazy, and then Christmas Day is usually a time set aside to watch The Grinch and eat tamales for the entire day. So shout out to Joseph Mendoza and his amazing wife Felicia for hooking us up. We got tamales for days.
We do.
Hi Jennifer, good to see you. Hi Paige. Good to see you. Hi, Olga. Good to see everybody who is watching tonight. Everybody. I could not be more excited that everybody's on. But tonight we're right about to go do Christmas, and so we wanted to do a special Equip night Christmas kind of extravaganza, if you will.
Should we call it Christmas Eve Eve?
Yeah, totally fair. Christmas Eve, I think, is a solid name for it. So welcome, everybody. I have Callie with me tonight.
Hello, everyone.
If you guys do not know, Calandra Olivia is somebody who's a professional actor. She's done really incredibly large shows, and she's an incredible singer. She was our worship director for a long time at the Congregation.Family before Broadway stole her, as Pastor Tim liked to say. And I'm also dating her, so that's great. So for those of you guys that do not know, Callie is my girlfriend. So tonight we are going to get into this. Before we kind of kick it off, basically what we wanted to do is we want to celebrate Christmas. We're preparing our hearts, we're preparing our minds for Christmas. As Christians, Christmas is kind of a huge holiday.
Hi, Olga. Hi, Jennifer.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a really, really big. It's kind of like the Super Bowl. It's almost like the Tostito Bowl of Christianity. Because if the Super Bowl is Easter, then Christmas is like the Rose Bowl. Maybe that's the way to think about it. And it also includes the Rose Parade. So Christmas is a big time for Christians. And so just for fun, I wanted to start off by just maybe asking Callie, and then some people in the chat, let us know who was one person that made Christmas for you. Because I think we all have one person. We all have one person who made Christmas something, for us that kind of made it. So, Callie, maybe who was the person that made Christmas for you? And then, folks, let us know in the chat.
I can already hear my family fighting over this, though. I can literally hear my grandmother and my mom.
Well, this is the point. Drama is a part of Christmas too. So.
I will on that note, though, with the drama, I would say that in the midst of everything we've gone through this last year with the pandemic, it's interesting how Christmas, it seems like the beautiful things we should be focusing on, the things that will really matter, are like hyper focus right now. So it's like family, the birth of Jesus. So, but in regards to who shapes my love for Christmas, I can't say one. It's a tie between my grandma and my mom.
That's sweet. I can call it out. It was my mom. It's a good thing my grandmother doesn't know how to use Facebook, because she might want to contend for the title, but she still thinks pages are in. If you don't know grandmother best. My mom made it for me.
Yeah. I can see that, because your mom is the hostess with the mostest, and she's like the queen of putting together not just really special family functions, but in a way that like makes every single person feel innately special.
Yeah,
Like,
so some people don't know this. So we do pretty elaborate Christmas parties at the house every year, and Pastor Paige does them, and she just curates these incredibly impressive parties, and we usually have 20 people over, and it's fun because it's different every year. There's actually been a lot of folks that have came who have come to them. But I remember, Callie, this was a year ago when your family was out here watching your show, and they got to spend Christmas at my house, which was such a huge deal because, you know, the Seversons run deep. They're like, they don't just show up one; they're like 3 generations, like wherever they go. You know, if you go to a Dodger game, you got the grandfather, the father, the
ready to go.
yeah, they run super, super deep. But it was really fun to do. And I remember I was talking to your mom and your grandmother, and they kept saying, "Oh my God, this is such an amazing party." And I said this with so much pride. I go, "Yeah, you should have seen the itinerary. Like, we're doing super well in terms of time." And your mom turns to me and goes, "You guys have an itinerary?" I go, "Have you met my mother?" Like, yes. Like, this is the time we eat. This is what we got to do. These are the place settings. This is where we all sit. The games are curated. And so anyway, Pastor Paige, I love you. Shout out to you. You have made every Christmas amazing. And so Christmas is always my favorite day of the year. And mostly because my mom's so good at throwing parties.
Pastor Paige makes every holiday very, very special. And I think that she genuinely probably deserves an award in California for being like someone who embodies what it is to be a generous host and to really make everyone feel fully a part of the family. And, you know, for me, it's like I come from the Midwest. Shout out to Minnesota. Love you all so much. And
this is love because it's like 30 below right now.
Oh, it's a blizzard right where my family is right now. And, you know, I think about my family and just everything that I learned from the Midwest. And one of the things that you get with the Midwest, and it doesn't matter if it's Christmas or if it's not, it's really always are doing unto others, helping others, being the neighbor, like going above and beyond for your neighbor. And Christmas, it's like that, like on a whole nother level, because it's like everyone wants to take care of one another. Everyone wants to make everyone feel celebrated. And we're so, you know, I think being a Christian, we're just so excited because we're celebrating the greatest gift of all during Christmas. And of course, there's lots of gifts underneath the Christmas tree, lots of amazing enjoy. And I mean, to be honest, I'm sure every family that's tuning in has like their go-to favorite to eat and they enjoy and relish in.
Yeah, that's really true. Everybody's got a thing. You know, I was just talking to my trainer today, and I was like, you know, he's Hispanic, and so I said, like, what do you do on Christmas morning? And so for us, it's tamales, which is funny, American, but like we've done that forever. So it's always like Christmas Eve European style because my dad's Swedish, right? So it was always like Swedish meatballs and prime rib and the whole thing. And then like the next day, it's like Hatch green New Mexico chili for breakfast with tamales with a break. So I grew up with the both, you know, and everyone's got their like little slice of heaven.
You know what's interesting is that I'm dating someone who's half Swedish, and yet I'm like full Norwegian. And
you look way more Swedish than I do, for the record.
But like, what's crazy?
When I go to Sweden, nobody thinks I'm Swedish.
I know, but like I'm actually Norwegian. Like I'm almost entirely Norwegian. And
yeah, but that's like making a distinction between like upstate New York and like. I mean, like you're basically, you know,
but
like Norwegian 6 million people, Sweden's 8. You know, they like share a border. Yeah, it's like the difference between like, you know, Canada and Washington. Like, I mean, literally, like you're right there.
But it's interesting because we grew up with the tradition of getting up super early in the morning, Santa Claus would come pay a visit, and
Yeah.
everyone would
We didn't
go
have
to
Santa. It was spoiled for me when I was like 5.
we
Way
would
that
we
you
would
got
go to my grandma Cleone and grandpa Arthur's house for Swedish pancakes, like super early in the morning. And it was our tradition that we just would always do. And it was something that, I mean, as the family even grew with spouses and boyfriends and girlfriends and all that, the table just would get bigger and bigger and bigger. And everyone was congregated around that table making Swedish pancakes. And honestly, yes, they tasted amazing, but it was, I mean, nothing in comparison to just being able to have that family time. So,
Yeah.
in the spirit of that, I'm going to send just a big bear hug to every single person that's watching and tuning in today, tonight, who might be celebrating Christmas a little bit differently this year. For me, I'm having to stick back in California to just kind of be vigilant with this pandemic and keeping my family safe, and keeping myself safe, and having a more intimate Christmas. And I know that for a lot of people, everyone is kind of experiencing that and dealing with a different intimate Christmas. And so
Yeah.
you're not alone,
Totally.
and we can still celebrate traditions through FaceTime and Skype. Aren't we lucky to be in 2020 where we have a phone where we can see our loved ones through the phone at any moment in time? We're very, very fortunate.
100%. Which I want to talk about this idea of being fortunate, because tonight when we were talking about what we wanted to talk about during Equip, is really the importance of Christmas. And Christmas obviously is a Christian holiday. It has also become a holiday that everyone kind of celebrates, right? And but there's some very unique things about it that are uniquely Christian, and I thought it was worth it to kind of explore that tonight. I have a scripture, John 1:14, for us. Christmas is a time where the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace. And so, the first thing, there's 3 principles I want to bring up tonight about why Christmas is important in all our lives. But also, I really felt it on my heart just to talk about it from a Christian standpoint, and as people of faith, like why we do what we do on Christmas. And I'm hoping that everyone will learn something new tonight. That's really my hope, that everyone will walk away saying, I haven't really totally heard this before, and thank you, Pastor Stefan, for helping me just take the next step in it. And so the first thing I want to say is, we celebrate the birth of Jesus. And I think that's an amazing thing for a couple reasons. And then, Callie, I'd love to hear what you think about it, because we've been talking about it all week. We talked about last Equip. But what does the birth of Jesus mean? Well, the birth of Jesus it's an incredibly significant event for Christians, but it's also a significant event in the history of the world. Why? Because the creator of the world came down to earth. He came down in our mess, in our dysfunction, in our brokenness, and he came down to where we were, in the mud and the muck of life. And in that, he met us where we were, and he knocked on our door. And he wrote a love letter to us. And so when we celebrate the birth of Jesus, what are we celebrating? We're celebrating the fact that God loved the world so much that he met us where we were. And that's a powerful thing, because, I think that's powerful normally, like in relationships. Say you have a friendship and someone knows you're going through a hard time and they come to your house and knock on your door and give you a gift. Like, that's really meaningful. I mean, people don't do that anymore. There's a comedian I love, Sebastian Maniscalco, who has this great bit about company, and how 20 years ago, when company came over and someone knocked at the door, the whole family would come and greet the person, and there was usually a special cake that was in the kitchen, and it was reserved for when company came over. And today the culture has changed so much that when somebody knocks on your door, well, the first thing you do is act like no one's home. Like you hide behind couches and make sure no one can hear you because like, ooh, company, like someone's like, who knocks on the door anymore? That's like a weird thing. Like people back in the day, if they wanted to talk to you, they would literally come see how you were doing. And then now it's like, why are you calling me? Like you should have texted me first. And the culture is really different. And so, it's meaningful when someone cares enough to actually come and knock on your door and meet you where you're at, and they hear that you're having a tough time, and they literally show up and say, how can I help? And so if it's meaningful for a person to do that, how meaningful is it that God, the creator of the world, the person that knows your frame, who knows the amount of hairs you have on your head, the fact that he would come and knock on your door and meet you where you were at and embrace you. And that's what the story of Jesus' birth is about. It's about us celebrating who God is. It's about celebrating the love that God has. And it's about celebrating what God did and what it meant for the future of the world, for the future of creation, and for all our lives. The fact that we worship a God, like we were all minding our own business and trying to make our way through the world, most of us quite unsuccessfully. And I'm not defining success by like the money you make. Like we all have areas where we're trying to figure it out. We're not really that great at it, but that God knocked on our door and he showed up. And so we celebrate that, and we celebrate that God did that 2,000 years ago, but we celebrate that God is the kind of God that does that he's the kind of God, that's his character, that he cared enough and he didn't come down. I mean, think about it. It's like, I often think about like celebrities, like, when celebrities roll in, like they don't just roll in, like they got their assistant. Like I saw this great interview with Jerry Seinfeld, and he was being interviewed in his show, comedians in cars getting coffee. And so after they left one of the restaurants, he didn't pay. And so the comedian turned to Seinfeld. It was like, pay. And he goes, oh, I got it. Like my assistant called beforehand and paid for our meal. And I just thought that was so funny, because like the way somebody's role in culture is that way. So you would expect God, the creator of the universe, the ultimate celebrity, like he would roll in with this like huge entourage, and you got to get to me. And what we get is infinite humility. And he came as a child, the most vulnerable of all of us, children who can't even fend for themselves, and put his trust in Mary, right? And then met us where we were. I mean, there's nothing more beautiful that just shows the character and the nature and the love and the temperament of who God is, and what we get to celebrate.
Like that's exactly it. I mean, obviously as a kid, when you're learning about the story of Jesus's birth, there's an element of it that feels very much like your parents or your grandparents or your Sunday school teacher is teaching you this beautiful story. And it almost kind of feels so far in separation to you.
Sure.
You hear about all the different elements, the people that were involved, the miraculous nature of how God even brought Jesus into the world. And as a little kid, it's kind of crazy to kind of try and wrap your mind around it. And then as you get older and you start to see it in a different way, you understand that God gives us the greatest gift of all when he gives us Jesus as his son on this planet, because God experiences human existence, and he understands our journey. And through that, we gain everlasting life when he goes to the cross. And there's a different context in the celebration of what it means that God brought his son here. There's a different weight to it. Because when I think about myself as a little girl and I think about the nativity story, I immediately think back to my mom and my Aunt Kim sitting around the living room at Christmas time and literally having the storybook and telling us all of the different intimate details about the wise men and the donkeys and all these like elements to
which I adore. Shameless plug, by the way. So for those of you who are spend Christmas with the congregation, Saturday, Christmas Day at 10 a.m. We're going to tell the Christmas story. So, Callie, like you, I was the same. My dad, I grew up, and every morning on Christmas, we would go through the Christmas story and we'd celebrate that story. And so we thought that, hey, wouldn't it be great if we did it as a congregation family? And so if you did not know, mark your calendars, Christmas at 10 a.m. We're gonna go through it together as a family.
And the story is special, and it's important for kids to get to understand the beginning, middle, and end of how God is able to bring Jesus here.
Yeah.
Through the Virgin Mary. I mean, just that image alone, the Virgin Mary bringing the Son of God here, the miracle that is. And then to understand, what it means, the greatest gift. I mean, I think that when we say that Jesus is the greatest gift of all, especially at Christmas time, because there's always gift giving, God gives us a lot of different gifts with Jesus. One of that being the spirit of generosity. And
this is a great segue.
This is,
point number 2.
This. The spirit of generosity is something we learn from God through this moment.
Yeah.
His decision to bring the Son of God here for us to know, for us to hear his teachings, for us to see his walk all the way to the moment he gave his life for all of us.
Yeah.
There's no better meaning of generosity.
Yeah, which I absolutely adore, because, point number 1 tonight is that John teaches us that Christmas is about celebrating the birth of Jesus, right? And the second thing is that we celebrate the gift of grace and forgiveness and eternal life. And there's something great about a gift, and I really want to I want to nerd out a little bit and harp on this because I think people miss it.
You should.
The importance of, so one of the Christian virtues within the entire history of the Christian church, so 2,000 years, one of the top virtues of Christianity that is shared between, you look at a 4th century monk, you look at a 20th century Christian, you look at an 11th century Greek Orthodox, there's some foundational truths, some foundational practices. One practice is prayer, right? There's some core ones. One is generosity. And Christians are generous, and we practice generosity. That's why we give on Sundays as a form of worship. When we give it, we're not just meeting a need. It's literally a form of worship. We are worshiping God through our giving, and there's a trust factor there too. There's a financial trust factor, saying, God, I'm going to give you a portion of what you give me, and so I trust you with my finances. But the third thing is the importance of generosity, and why are we generous as human beings, and why does our faith call us to generosity? The reason why is because our lives were changed by a gift. And so God gave Jesus, and Jesus fully gave his life as a gift to humanity, to each of us. And so when we say, me and Pastor Page talked about this last week, the importance of understanding the fact that when John 3:16 says that Jesus died for our sins, that the gift of grace was given to us by God with no attachments. It was freely given, regardless of what we would do. And again, Pastor Page and I talked about this, that humans have a hard time understanding that. So we often try to attach things to it because it's kind of scandalous. The idea that God gave love, and he decided to give love to who he decided to give love to. That means it's like not up to us. And you often see people try to put rules and regulations on that love. Like I brought this up last week, that just the week before, I heard somebody on Facebook who was a Christian. They were doing this like teaching on Facebook, and not to put anybody down, but the whole point of their thing was to say that like we receive salvation because we follow Christian virtues and principles, and they were saying like you got to follow the rules basically in order to kind of get the salvation. And I just couldn't disagree more on the core principle of that, because the whole point of Christmas and the whole point of the resurrection is that grace is fully given freely without strings attached. And the only way something is a gift is that it's not given in an exchange of. Otherwise, it's not a gift, then it's a transaction. And so what's the difference between unconditional love and conditional love? Well, conditional love is transactional love. It means I'm going to love you if you give. Unconditional love doesn't work like a transaction does. It says I'm going to love you even regardless of what happens. And so the kind of gift of grace and love of God to humanity was an unconditional gift. It was to say, I'm here whether you accept me or reject it, whether you accept me or reject me, my love for you is supreme. And that's so important to remember, because, you know, when we give gifts during Christmas, we're practicing that. That's why we give gifts in Christmas. That's why there's something that's healthy about this being a season of giving, because it's about being able to say, you know what, Jesus gave me the ultimate gift. He gave me love. He gave me grace. He saved my life. He restored, renewed me, healed me. And you know what? This is going to be a season where I'm just going to bless people. You know, and if I get gifts back, that's great. And you should receive gifts. A lot of times Christians don't receive gifts well. I think that's a mistake, because we're all exercising gift giving. And so if somebody blesses you, you should receive it, because you don't want to rob somebody of their ability to be generous. I really believe that. I think that there's something so important. You value someone when you receive their gift and say, you know what, thank you. Like, honest to God, thank you. But I also think it's so important that this is a season where you say, you know what, I'm just going to give. That's why we did the toy drive with Family Strong this year. We supplied over 250 families toys for Christmas. So many people. Thank you for everyone who gave to that. That was such an amazing thing. You know, we give as Christians every Sunday. I tell people all the time that the Congregation.Family, it's not a business. Like, there's no CEO. Like, everybody gives. And we give our finances, but we give our time. We give our gifts and our talents. Why? Because we do that because God has given us so much, and we want to give back. We want to see people's lives be affected. We want to play our part. We want to partner with God in this season so that God can do something great. And so, you know, I just want to encourage you, everyone who's listening, when you give gifts, you are participating in a tradition that has gone back to the gift that Jesus gave us.
You know, and you speak to a really good point,
Yeah.
Stefan, because the thing that I think is so special about gifts, especially gifts that God has given us, is that, you know, especially around Christmas time, we think of the wrapped presents underneath the Christmas tree. And the truth is that some of the most epic gifts we can give as human beings and children of God is the gifts of kindness, the gifts of passion, of empathy, of giving our gifts that God has given us specifically unique to ourselves. You know, so when I think about the people that serve in our church, our Congregation.Family, and, you know, churches across the world, you know, I think about all the different gifts that people bring to the table and give freely. And what's so epic about those specific gifts is that when you give them, more often than not, there's something, when you give a gift and there's no strings attached, there's something that blesses you beyond your wildest imagination.
Yeah.
It blesses you deep inside your heart. And I I believe with all of my heart that any time that I've chosen to give my gifts with no strings attached,
Yeah.
it has changed me fundamentally, and it's made me that much closer to God. And I always think about those cheesy bracelets. I mean, I was definitely of the age when those bracelets came out that said the WWJD.
Yeah, no, I was too.
What would Jesus do?
Millennial culture.
Like a lot of different rainbow colors, and I mean, Sunday school kids would have like a whole bunch across their wrists, and the simplicity.
I didn't go that far, but
My mother was the director of Christian education, so
I love Trish. She's an amazing person.
supply. And when I think about that bracelet, I mean, yes, of course, there's the cheesiness that I remember of the bracelet, but going beyond that and understanding that statement, what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
There's something about when we walk in the footsteps of Jesus, when we take on ownership of selflessness, when we decide to act in the spirit of love, when we walk in God's love, when we give our gifts freely, the blessings come back to you like fully,
Yeah.
your wildest imagination, and it shapes you, and it makes you that much more intimately intertwined with God and His vision for your life. So I always want to encourage everyone this evening, and as we go into Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, that it doesn't matter what you have in your pockets. I know this season has been really, really tough on people.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a matter of looking inwards and seeing all the gifts that God has given you and how you can use those gifts to bless people.
I couldn't agree with you more. Gift giving has nothing to do with the product. It has nothing to do. I think that's one of the sad things is obviously the commercialization of Christmas and kind of the economic forces behind that. But I think that there's just, you can't put a price on generosity. You can't put a price on calling somebody and just saying, hey, I'm thinking about you. You can't put a price on, Zooming somebody. You can't put a price on sending someone a photo of a great experience and just saying, hey, I just want to let you know today, like, you're loved, you're amazing, you're great.
That's right.
And, you're valued. People are looking for you. I mean, some of the best gifts I've ever received didn't come in a box. They came by people who cared and who just blessed me, who showed up, and, if you asked me what I got 10 years ago for Christmas, I honestly, the answer I would say is the party that we had and like the happiness of what I was given, like to be a part of people's lives. And I think that there's just something about that. So I know we're all social distancing. I'm glad we are all social distancing. I have a lot of friends who are nurses. There are no ICU beds in Southern California. It is a really awful situation for so many folks. And so I am so proud of every person who is staying home and being by themselves. And we all play our part because we want to think about the healthcare workers and do what we can. But there's no law that says we can't call people, we can't Zoom people, we can't text people. And so let this be a Christmas where we send the most texts. Let this be a Christmas where we call the most people and just say, hey, I love you. You're amazing. I'm thinking about you and I'm with you, even though you're physically together. I know, close with this because I really want to respect your time. I know you got to run.
No, you're really fine. I wanted to say one thing to what you just said, though. Obviously it was a really hard decision to not go home to the Midwest because I only get to see my family for limited moments of time being out here in California and all of my family being in Minnesota and South Dakota. But one of the things that we talked about, which, it's hard to wrap your heart around this time. It's not normal. Pastor Paige Junaeus has been saying that in her messages this whole last week, and it hasn't been a normal time. But the way that I'm choosing to see it is I would rather have the next 35 Christmases with my family than
Yeah,
one.
totally.
And it's a hard thing in the immediate to wrap your head around, but in the long run, I look forward to many, many more celebrations with my family. And so the more that we can help our neighbors, and I think as Christians, what it is to be called to be a good neighbor is to think about the people that are struggling the most. And those are doctors and nurses and the people that are putting themselves in the front lines. And so during this time, just know that we are praying for you, and we're putting you in the center of our thoughts and our heart, and we celebrate Christmas with you. But yeah, Pastor Stefan, it was wonderful to hop on here and just to talk about the joy of Christmas and what it is to celebrate the true greatest gift of all, and how it can make all of us more generous stewards of his love and the gifts that he's given us.
I love it. Thank you, Callie, for joining me. I'm going to let her log off, and then I'm going to finish this guy on my own. But thank you so much. But man, what an amazing night. I just want to encourage everybody during this season, just as the pastor at the Congregation.Family, stay safe, stay at home. It's okay to be at home. I'm going to be home with Pastor Paige. And so we're going to be cooking together. This is a season where we're all in the same boat, but doesn't mean we can't be generous. Doesn't mean we can't love people. Doesn't mean we can't reach out to people. And so the final point of my night, and this is for everyone who's listening, is Christmas one. Number one, Christmas is time to celebrate the birth of Jesus and the victory of God and what he has done in our lives and for the world. Number two, this is a time of generosity. This is a time to celebrate generosity, to be generous in all things. And finally, this is a time to celebrate. I'm telling you guys, have fun this Christmas. It is okay to celebrate. It is not bad to celebrate. It's when we celebrate life. What a privilege that we have been given life by God. That we have been given the opportunity to live. That we've been given the opportunity to feel every emotion, and to be human beings. And so Christianity is not about Christianity is about being fully human, and what that means, and celebration, enjoying life, enjoying yourself is a part of what it means to be human, and a part of what it means to celebrate. So have that extra piece of cake. I mean, God came to earth and blessed all of us where we were and loved us for who we are. And if you don't, and if you do not deserve an extra piece of pie, because the creator of the world, who created you, also loved you enough to give you grace and forgiveness and empowerment and love and compassion, I don't know what will. So enjoy yourself this Christmas. God bless you. Real quick in the chat, people are asking, how do I give the Congregation.Family? I would say Congregation.Family/give. Give tonight if you're a person that says, hey, Pastor Stefan, I want to support what you guys are doing. I want to support things like the toy drive. I want to support things like you guys helping. Then I would say, give tonight. Consider giving towards the Congregation.Family. And then also just a couple announcements. Do not miss tomorrow. We are doing something so special. We are taking communion together at 6 p.m. And there's nothing more powerful than communion. When we take communion, we celebrate the fact that Jesus is with us. And we believe that Jesus is really with us. That when we take communion, that we are going to the Lord's table. And the thing about the Lord's table is that God gave us the table. I tell people this all the time. Communion was not something invented by us. Humans didn't invent communion. Jesus himself, God himself, came to earth and opened up his table and saved you a seat. And so when we take communion, we not only celebrate the fact that God did that, but we actually come to the table of the Lord, and we come where there is life-giving bread and life-giving water, and we partake in all the goodness that is the kingdom of God and all the goodness that God gives us. So we're going to be doing that tomorrow as a family online, Congregation.Family. You can go watch it live. It's at 6 p.m. Pastor Paige is leading us in communion, but the whole staff is in on it. The whole team came together to pull it off, and it's going to be fantastic. And then again, Christmas morning, we are all home. All of us are stuck at home. And so what better than to come together on Christmas morning as a family, as the people of God, and to read the story of Christmas, to read about who Jesus was and how he changed our lives and how all of us now are different because of the love of God. We're going to be doing that on Christmas Day at 10 a.m. So I could not be happier. Jennifer, I'd love to see you there. Olga, love to see you there. Pastor Paige, Martha Sanchez, Glow. I want to see everybody. Let's spend Christmas together. We are not alone. Doesn't matter if we're in our homes. We are not alone. God is not only with us, but each of us has been invited into the people of God. And so we now have a place in God's family. And so that's why the church is called Congregation.Family, is because to be a Christian is to be invited into the family of God. And what a privilege that all of us have been invited, and what a privilege that all of us get to gift each other grace, love, support, compassion. We get to see the value in each other and lift each other up. I'm done preaching. Like I can go all night. But I love everybody. I love all of you. God is with you. We are believing for you. We are standing beside you. Have an amazing Christmas. And again, we will see you Christmas Eve. It's going to be fantastic.